Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Smoky Mountain Wrestling Review Series. Welcome to those of you who are new. Welcome back to those of you seasoned veterans of what we do around here. We've got over 1,100 actually. Audio is available in a variety of topics across pro wrestling of modern era and the golden eras of wrestling going back to the 80s. I wish I could go back to 70s, 60s, and 50s, but there's not enough content to do that. In any event, we're running through episodically Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Hopefully, you'll join us for that process. This is the 11th of April, 1992, and so that is a valuable time. Hollywood Bob Holly is up first in an enhancement match with Reno Riggins. Holly is not here too much longer, maybe about another month or so. He ends up moving on and going back to racing stock cars and getting a more traditional job for a little bit. He gets picked up by the WWF late in '93, I believe. But the idea that Bob Holly kind of gets lost a little bit is somewhat sad because he really was good in the Hollywood Bob Holly role here, even if the role didn't fit him because, well, a guy from Alabama doing the Hollywood gimmick might not have fit. Ben Jordan is his opponent for the day. Holly goes after him pretty aggressively, and we see some rather big body slams along the way. Holly, goes for a quick cover, tries to get an advantage wherever he can, and again, he must not have been planned to be here for very long because he's not involved in the end of May 22nd Volunteer Slam Championship Tournament. So it's kind of just interesting that, they've kind of built around the guy for a couple of months now, 11 weeks. So, I mean, about 3 months, and he's not in the championship tournament. Just strikes me as a little odd. Jordan manages to catch him under the chin with a drop kick, a couple of shots along the way, and things are pretty aggressive. The Russians of Vladimir and um, um, Ivan Koloff do end up coming out after his match. Holly, though, wins kind of with a diving knee drop from the top slash splash because it's not really fully a knee drop, but not fully a splash. The Russians are pretty sure they're going to win the tag team championship tournament. They don't really seem to care about much other than that. They also are very happy at the thought of eliminating the Fantastics once and for all, and that seems to be at the center of their promo. I love the fact that Smoky Mountain, in this time period and throughout the history of the promotion, which runs about 4 years, gets really pretty aggressive about the idea of A, rules, but B, kind of moving forward. Then we see Commissioner Bob Armstrong come out. He's talking about the tournament that's upcoming. Then we see some first round tag team tournament action after the local area guys talk about coming to local area towns. We see the Fantastics, Bobby and Jackie Fulton, Brian Lee, primetime Brian Lee, the man who, spoilers 20 plus years later, the man who becomes the first ever Smoky Mountain Heavyweight Champion. We'll get there, though, over the next several weeks. But Tim Horner talks about coming to local area towns, really being excited about lighting Tennessee up, and he's really super excited about that process. Then we go to continuation. The Fantastics talk about being, really focused on being a team. And then we go back to the ring for Robert Gibson and Danny Davis seem to be a tag team against the Russians. Obviously, Ivan Koloff is a former world champion, pretty big deal. Ricky Morton must not have been available because I can't imagine not having the Rock and Roll Express if you could. Nothing against Danny Davis in that regard, just certainly the idea of being able to have the benefit of the Rock and Roll Express. Probably one of the best tag teams to come out of the South or mid-southern area. Gibson, though, comes in, hits a couple of leapfrogs and such. One of the Russians manages to duck out of the way. Vladimir manages to duck out of the way, catches a dropkick under the chin. But Robert doesn't exactly sell his fact that he has been on the receiving end of missing a crossbody for very long. Good tags to Danny Davis. Danny Davis, not the WWF version, but the man who managed and ran Ohio Valley for more than 2 decades. And Davis comes back in, stays on. The Russians takes him back to the corner, and Davis moves around quite a bit here. He's not afraid of any major contact. Danny Davis, super small guy, probably 5'5", 5'6", but built with a lot of power. Then we go back to Robert Gibson comes back in. He takes some shots right across the back there, and that's kind of there. Cross body, he goes through the ropes on the outside, and that doesn't wind him up very well either along the way. Then we see the cut off of the heels pretty aggressively there. They cut the ring off on the baby faces and work them over for the next several minutes. I mean, it's pretty intense along the way there, and some hard shots actually. I should probably remake this, but I'm not going to. Realizing that this is Joey Maggs and not Robert Gibson, which is rather disconcerting that my vision has gotten that bad. But anyway, the Russians managed to continue their shots along the way, and we see the continuation of that. The Russians finally do win in advance, or no, do not advance in the tag team tournament here. The baby faces do end up advancing, working together as a cohesive unit. Styles still out there. Carl Styles still out there with the good old Dutch Mantel, kind of as a bodyguard. Meanwhile, Dirty White Boy Tony Anthony cuts a promo basically saying that the fans are heartless because they won't help Ron Wright with his surgery. Ron Wright is all but near tears with that realization. Meanwhile, Dirty White Boy has been announced as one of the combatants in the tournament there, the upcoming tournament. Hector Guerrero and Dixie Dynamite are up next with local area promos. Guerrero kind of talks about wanting to get his hands on just about everybody. Also, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff interferes as there is a local area promo with Dixie Dynamite putting over the joys of being in the Smoky Mountains. Orndorff not seeing the joy, not feeling the joy, and feeling disrespected, feeling that he's not getting the respect he deserves out here week after week. Orndorff says he's beaten just about everyone all over the world. Announcers do continue that thought process. Meanwhile, Orndorff basically believes he should be guaranteed in the tournament. Then we see Hector Guerrero against Paul Orndorff. Orndorff at the time had been off of wrestling for probably since about 1987 on a national level. Probably end of 87, early 88. But coming back here in 1992, trying to get back into the sport at some greater level, one would assume. Orndorff manages to take Guerrero down, gets some ride time, doesn't get all he wants on it, but manages to hang with Guerrero. Good roll up by Guerrero, gets a near fall there with the O'Connor roll, and Orndorff complains. He believes that his tights have been pulled. Meanwhile, we see the difference between speed versus power, as Orndorff uses power and is not afraid to cheat, whereas Hector Guerrero manages to keep things more, I guess, even-keeled, for lack of a better term. Orndorff with some kicks with the man to the outside, sends him to the outside, did not send him over the top rope, as I believe. Still a disqualification, sending a guy over the top rope in the area. Piledriver has been banned, which Orndorff isn't happy about either. That's been almost put over by Commissioner Bob Armstrong from the beginning of the promotion, which is not in line with what Paul Orndorff believes should be done. Anyway, Hector Guerrero gets a cross body, and Orndorff rolls through and hooks the leg and some of the tights, gaining a what many people would say is an illegal victory or unnecessary victory. But Orndorff kind of cheats to win there, and he's not the least bit worried. People chanting about him, and then Orndorff, post match, feels he does not have enough respect, manages to use the pile driver in the middle of the ring on Hector Guerrero, kind of trying to lay him out and end his career. Uses that pile driver on a steel chair. The locker room pretty well enters out for a bit, or empties out for a bit, as the heels and, well, the baby faces are worried about Hector, but just about everybody would be worried about Hector in that scenario. I believe this might be the first match of the Heavenly Bodies, if not the first match, pretty close to it. Heavenly Bodies, Dr. Tom Pritchard and Stan Lane. This is the first version of the Bodies, not the last version of the Bodies. And to be fair, this is the first version of the Cornette era Heavenly Bodies. There were Heavenly Bodies in earlier generations throughout the territories, but this is the Cornette version. Actually, one of my favorite tag teams of all time, the Lane and Pritchard Heavenly Bodies. Talk that Pritchard was going to become a member of the Midnight Express at one point after Dennis Condrey left. First round tournament match, the Batten brothers, who are extremely difficult to tell apart, so I won't bother with that. In here, Heavenly Bodies do a good bit of selling. They're bouncing all over the place for the baby faces. You don't have, top level tag teams, but this team is still good enough. Big body slam by Tom Pritchard. Cornette, of course, managing the Heavenly Bodies on the outside of the ring, and he's very vocal about wanting his team to get to the next round of the Tag Team Championship Tournament, which they are very focused on doing. Good to see that there is some teamwork on both sides. Primarily, though, the double teaming is by the baby faces, coming in with double axe handles from the top rope on the inside on Tom Pritchard, and they don't seem to be intimidated by Tom's previous acclimate of history in the sport. Some cheating along the way, including Stan Lane with a couple of questionable martial arts shots along the way as needed. He also manages to hit a pretty good clothesline. Cornette, amazing at registering the attacks of his men. Just probably one of the things he does better than most. Anyway, double Irish whip, double shot to the midsection, and then the Heavenly Bodies doing some choking. Going to do just about anything they can to get things going in their direction. We see a double team maneuver as the baby faces are just about to get a victory here, but the baby faces start to clear house on the Heavenly Bodies. Doesn't get all he wants on that. Dr. Tom sends his man in. They kind of do a elevated suplex. 1, 2, 3. Heavenly Bodies advance to the next round of the tournament, much to the chagrin of the fans, but much to the delight of everybody in the Smoky Mountain area. Jimmy Golden talks about facing off with Robert Gibson eventually in the tournament, and that's how we close the show. Cornette manages actually to kind of gloat about the win of the Heavenly Bodies, basically promises in no uncertain terms that they will be the best tag team in Smoky Mountain and the first tag team champions of the area. So that'll be it for this episode. We'll be back with plenty more right after this.